Nikki here. Right, I'm going to do a very loose painting with some bluebells and the woods and just something nice and loose and yeah, just have a go at it really. I've got images on my website of bluebells and if you want to go on there to download some photographs, you're very welcome. It is Nikki, N-I-K-I, Bell, bell.co.uk, and there'll be a tab at the top there that says inspiration or photos. Just something that if you want to go on there and have a little click, and then you can print off some of those photos. They're ones taken by myself, so help yourself, but just paint. Lovely. Okay, so today I've got some French Ultramarine, some Aureolin, I've got a little bit of the Cerulean blue as well, and a little bit of Winsor Violet. Need to rummage in my box and find it. Ah, there it is. Winsor Violet. Whoopsie. There we go. Some Winsor Violet. And I'm just going to start off, I think, with those colours for the time being. I'm going to just add a little bit of this colour. It's called Green Gold and it's rather delicious. And if you like painting landscapes, I recommend you get it. It's a gorgeous colour. Right, whoopsie, get the lid on there. Right, okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just get my nice big paintbrush. Okay, so a nice big mop, and I'm just going to put a little bit of water by each of those dollops of paint just to keep them nice and sorted. And then I'm just going to put this plate by the side of me here, so it might be out of shot, but if anything changes on my palette I'll let you know. Okay, so it's there. Bam, bam, bam. Right, okay, so I want to have a really nice loose ground, and again I'm just going to just put on some water in a very random way like that. I've got my spritzer to the ready as well should I need it. Okay, so there's my spritzer. Right, off we go. I'm going to start off with some yellow and some green gold mixed together. This is a really vibrant yum colour. I'm just going to put it in lots of water, sort of implying that there's a horizon around here, and then just bring it down a bit. Bit of French Ultramarine and Cerulean blue and a little bit of that Winsor Violet, and I'm just going to put this in the background. Quite a muted colour, can you see? A little bit stronger. I want to have a little bit of yellow in there as well, so I've got a green like this, nice and strong coming down there. Right, Winsor Violet and Cerulean blue. Again, nice and watery. So these are our bluebells in the background, and we want that to really just sort of give that lovely sensation of them. Bring that down. Just going to give this a bit of a spritz. Yeah. Move that about a bit. So as you can see, if I tilt it up this way, you can see that the paint is running down that way, and then if I tilt it back this way, you can now see that I've got some sort of bleeding going up there. So that's a bit yummy. I'm pleased with that. So now what I'm going to do is give it a quick blast with my hairdryer. Okay, right. So there we go. We've got that lovely sort of, it's just a bit damp still. Oopsie, that's probably not very clever. Put your fingers in it. But it's just a bit damp. It's not totally dry, but it's just going to be great to work in a little bit more. So back into my green, gold and yellow mix. I'm just going to start to put a little bit more. Just want to have a feeling of there just being some brightness on this side of my painting or my woodland. Yeah, and I'll keep that nice and wet. Nice. It's going to start to push in here. Right, going into that French Ultramarine, Cerulean and yellow. It's gone a bit dark. That's okay. I'm just going to drop this in here, along here as well. Yeah, just getting a sense that there's some distance there. Just going to clean my brush. Pick that colour a bit too dirty. Right. Winsor Violet and Cerulean Blue. More Cerulean Blue than Winsor Violet at this stage. And now a little bit more violet. Okay. Just give it a dab out. Like that. A bit more violet in there. Let that all flow through. Right, I want to get that really loaded up actually. And that. Now I've got a really lovely massive strong blues with a few little violets thrown in. There we go, that's nice. Right, now what I want to do is I want to tilt it this way. And I'm just going to give it a little encouragement with my water spritz. Get that to come out there. Okay. Thin out that yellow. Oh, here we go, look at that. Lovely. And tilt it that way. Just keep that coming down. Okay. Drop that down. And just pick up some of these big areas of water. Going in across there like that. Right, bit of burnt sienna now on the old palette, please, and put him there next to the French Ultramarine. So here he is, right next to the French Ultramarine, and that's because he's going to help us make brown. We could do that also with the yellow and the, oopsie, with the yellow and the violet, because those two colours also make a brown, but I want to just get these two. These two are my favourite mixes really, because oh, it's just delicious and it's easy peasy. Only though, if you're using Winsor & Newton Artist Range, if you're using any other range, it won't work. You have to use umber, burnt umber, not burnt sienna. And I'm now just going to start to put in some hints of some trees, going up like this. And I'm jumping, I've still got my really enormous brush here, and I'm jumping it through, and I don't mind that it's wet there. I think that's quite nice. I like that effect a lot. Just going to take that up there, take it out. A few more over here, and I'm going to let that dry a little bit more in a minute in there. Take that there. Right. Okay, while that's still a bit damp, I'm going to take my salt grinder and, oh, that's a very serious salt grinder, and I'm just going to leave that now, let the salt do its thing, and then let that dry, and then come back to it in a minute when it's dry and rub the salt off. Alright, I'm going to pause and I will see you in a minute. Want that. So just nice. And I'm just going to start to put my rigger brush down, give it a wriggle, and then start to bring these trees out over the top. Right, now when it comes to the base of the tree, you don't want it to be a straight line, so just give it a nice little curve off. Alright, and again let's have one a little bit further away so it doesn't have to be as thick. And the rigger brush is beautiful because, you know, if you can hold it upright and twist it with your finger like this motion, you're going to get a lovely knobbly effects, which is like just like the roots, the twigs even, not the roots, the twigs that you'll find in a branch. Okay, let's keep going with that then. Always a gnarly old thing, isn't he? He's come out like that. Let's give him a bit more of a base. Now, although I haven't done this painting edge to edge, which means that the paint doesn't run to the edge of my paper, I quite like this effect. I quite like this loose effect. I can still enjoy taking my trees out as well. So you're just breaking out of all of these sort of lines. It's quite nice. I'm bringing him down a bit because he's quite big, and so he's going to be in front of these guys. Like that. Okay, and now I'm going to have a few little ones on the back here, and again up here, yeah, and then some in this part. So you want it to be nice and busy, so just keep going with those lovely rigger brush and branch marks. I'm having it more clustered on this side and a little bit more open on this side. And just make sure that tree hasn't got a flat bottom. And you can have some trees that are going across. Yeah, little twiggy ones. Just going to put some more in here. Now, if I'm sort of quick, which I'm not, but whilst these ones are still wet, yeah, I would like to get a little bit of texture in those trees. So I'm just very quickly going to drop in some yellow that's been mixed with a bit of burnt sienna, and I kind of need my other brush for that. So my yellow brush with my yellow brush, my round brush, and I'm just going to dip that in there like that, and that will eventually separate a little bit and pull that paint apart and give us some nice interesting little techniques. Right, I'm just going to do the others. Let's go for it. Right, I've taken my brush size down a bit, and now what we're going to do is go in to this Bluebell area a bit more. Cerulean blue really, and the Winsor Violet. Just a light mix with, so the Cerulean blue is heavy on this one, and I'm just going to put some stuff in over there like that. Keep it soft. You don't want it to be coming too heavy again, or overpaint everything again, like I'm very good at. I'm notoriously good at overpainting. It's knowing when to stop, I find. Well, yeah. It is what it is, you just got to keep your eye on it. So pull that down a bit, like that. And now I'm just going to drop in some stronger colour in there, like that. Drop in bits in that red, in the wet areas. And bring that down. And again, lots of water, just soften that out. Okay. I'm going to put some more salt on it. Like that. And I'm going to change up my brush size, and I'm going to get some more Winsor Violet and Cerulean blue on my palette, much stronger in the old violet mix this time, and just drop that in areas around the salt. So 90 degrees with my paintbrush to the paper, and I'm just going to drop it in around the areas where there's salt. Don't forget, this is all still wet. You can really only drop in your paint if the area around it is wet. Otherwise you're just going to get dots, and you don't want dots. Let these come down here like that. I might just paint a little bit more in there. Quite like that coming down there. Give that a clean. Soften that edge off a bit there. Get my mighty salt grinder and pop that in there like that. Right, I'm going to let that settle down for a bit and do its thing. Add a little bit of green gold to my palette. Mix it up, bit of yellow, such a delicious colour. Right, now I've got my smaller brush now, and I'm just going to start here, again holding it so loosely at the top here. I'm just going to start, and I'm just going to bring in a few lines like this. And these are going to be my bluebell stalks that are quite close to the foreground. All right, so you're creating so much depth here. You've got this going on in the background, midground, and now this is going to be the foreground. Look at that delicious colour. Look how bright and delicious that is. Right, now, while that's still wet, I'm now going to put in some Cerulean blue and Winsor Violet mix. I'm just literally just going to just blob it. All right. Keep it fresh. I mean, I know it's going over the green and it will merge a bit, but I just want to try and keep it strong for a bit. And you have a few more down here. These little funny little bell-shaped flowers. Okay. Right, I'm going to dry that with the hairdryer and then I'm going to come back into it. All right, let's have a look. Right, note of caution, when you are rubbing salt off your painting, please make sure it's really, really dry. There is nothing worse than spending all that lovely time painting and then you go shroom with your hand and you make a great big nasty smear. So make sure it is completely dry before you start, you know, rubbing too hard. With your finger. It's a bit rough on your old fingers, but yeah, I've put most of that salt into my palette. I'm not sure that's going to like it that much. Right. It's such a satisfying effect. Look at this beautiful area in here where you've got these little freckles of cerulean blue popping out, and then the purple, the cerulean blue is where the salt was, and then the purple spiggling about it, or wriggling and squiggling around it, is the purple that we dropped in around the salt. So that's worked like a dream. Chuffed to bits with that. Right, okay, before I go any further, I'm going to now lift out some areas in the trees. So just going to get a brush, a nice flat brush, nice and wet, and just give it a little rub. So make sure you're adding plenty of water. Yeah. And I'm just choosing one side of the trees that I'm going to lift out, like that, and then go in with my kitchen roll and just lift that bit out of it. So now you've got some sort of, you know, you've got some light coming on the trees. I'm going to be a bit thinner on this one. So just add that in. Get your kitchen roll and just hold it and dab it. Don't do boom, boom, boom like that. Be nice and gentle with it. Just pull out a bit from that one in the distance. There we go. Now you've got some light coming through onto them, which is just yum. I'm just going to take this one down here, maybe take a little bit of a wide bit there, lift it off. And lift it off. There. And down here. Down there. Like that. Okay. So if I wanted to, I could now, so I'm just going to drop in a few more sort of, and if I do these like wriggly squiggly lines going across, like that, sort of gives you an idea of some bark. So quite like that, so I'm just going to echo that on the others as well. Bit more. He's a floating tree, but I don't mind. I'll figure it out. Might just give him a little clump of bluebells around him. Going up the hill. There, that's it, like that. Right, the other thing I think I want to do, I want to sort of put a path in here. So I'm just going to wet that, but not have it going like a big path, just coming down to that point there. Get that clean. It's higgledy-piggledy with the paintbrushes. Just give that a little scrub with that flat brush. Bit of kitchen roll. Lift it out. Yep. Lift that out, and then what I'm going to do now is just go into that green gold mix, very watery, and just put that in there. So you've got a sort of a feeling of there being some sort of path. coming around there. Right, okay, so we need a little bit more definition on these guys here. Now, the worst thing I think I can possibly find to do with Bluebells is try and draw them. I've lost my sketch piece that I did. Oh no, I haven't, here it is. So here's a sketch piece that I've worked on earlier to sort of give you an idea of a sort of a shape of a bluebell, or just to practice really. So I'm going to try and sort of emulate some of those shapes into this area, but not too many. I don't want it to be so sort of obvious and overkill, but I do want something in the foreground. I'm just going to tidy that up a bit. That's sort of bringing this right up to the fore, as it were. So in we go with that Winsor Violet and a bit of Cerulean. So it doesn't really matter because you know these are going to be darker. But if I sort of suddenly did something like that, and I did something like that there, and another one here. So can you see how I'm just being very suggestive as opposed to actually painting a bluebell? Just being suggestive of the shape and of them sitting on that grass or that stalk like that. Little one there, and on the end of their stalks they have these light tiny little buds. I'm just going to put those in, little buds that come out like that. Little suggestion of a bluebell. Yeah. It's really difficult. All you want to do is to sort of be super literal, but it becomes just too much. I think that they are such an incredible little power pack of a plant, and there's so many of them in a in a stalk. If you try and paint every single one in true bluebelly style in something like this, it's too much. It's just overkill, and it really hurts, and it can suddenly go very, I think, very cliche and quite flat, and we don't want that. Right, while they're wet, I'm just going to use a little bit of white gouache, and I'm going to use it so it's quite watery, and I'm just going to drop it in at the top. In at the top. See if I can get it going down the sides a bit. Like that. Now I'm going to let that dry, and if I need to go back into them in a minute, I will. Right, I'm just going to let those dry naturally, and while I'm waiting for that to happen, I'm just going to mix up some of this green gold with the Cerulean, and I'm just going to get this lovely little beautiful green, and just on a few of the stalks I'm going to put out some just new life of just some lovely little specks of green where all those beautiful new leaves are coming out. Super beautiful colour green. We've had the most glorious spring weather, although we have all been in lockdown with the coronavirus. The weather's been just magnificent, and it's so lovely to be able to, go out and exercise. Our allocated exercise time, and it's just lovely to be able to look out into the big wide world from your window and see all these beautiful new flashes of life coming through nature. There we go, been babbling a bit. I do like a babble. Just going to pop some of these down here as well. A few little hints of sort of grassy areas. Not too much, that's fine. Right, I'm now going to give this a bit of a blast with my hairdryer because I want to just come in and work on these little bits here. Okay. Right. Having dried that now and having a look at it, making a little assessment, there are some areas here that are so delicate and beautiful. I just am in love with that spot there, and I'm in love with this spot here. And I like this spot here. I like these bluebells. I'm quite pleased with those, so I'm going to leave them. I don't want to fuss too much with them. I still want to sort of bring in a little bit more something, and so I think it is time, ladies and gentlemen, for... where's my beautiful toothbrush of glory? Found it. Right, I've gone into the green gold, can't help myself, in love with that colour. And now I'm just going to do a little bit of splattering with my toothbrush. There. Happy days. I'm going into that Winsor purple, violet, not purple. I'm just going to do a little bit of splattering in there. I love a splatter. And now, on these bluebells in the foreground, I'm actually going into some white gouache. It's going to dry pretty transparent, but it'll give something there. Okay, right, quick blast with the hairdryer, and then let's have another little assessment. The white's disappeared. It's time for the big boy. If your gouache is going a little bit too transparent because it's too watered down, it's time to get out the white ink. White acrylic ink, absolute superstar. Careful though, because it's as solid as you get. There we go. Right. I just want to do a little bit more. I'm mixing up a very dark brown using French Ultramarine and Burnt Sienna. Again, Burnt Umber if you're not using Winsor & Newton paint. I just want to just do a few little... Oh, bless, can you hear the boy laughing? Just a few little lines in the trees just to sort of pull that, give that a little bit of definition. Might even just put a little one trying to make a break for it there, and another little one in here. Just a few little digits in there. I think that's actually helping. Little bramble going off there. A little bramble coming in here. It's such a nice noise. I don't know if you can hear it, but the boy's on the Xbox with his mates and they're just laughing, laughing, laughing. Totally delicious. Okay, a bit more of this green gold. Okay, I think if I carry on, I'm just going to be overworking and fiddling. So all in all, I'm quite chuffed with that. I like some of these effects very much. I really love this salt and splatter in here. That's just yummy. And the way that the water is just crept down and flooded throughout there, and then that gave me my path, which is really lovely. That was a lovely happy accident. I like that. I'm in love with the rigger brush. I think the rigger brush is a thing of beauty and marvel, and also my toothbrush. I love that effect that's gone on there. So enjoy. Like I said, on the website there will be a page, just open up, it'll be called photographs, or photos, one of those words, you'll figure it out, and just click on there and I'll have lots of images that I have taken, photographs that I have taken, that you're very welcome to print off and paint away with. I had a rough idea of what I was going to do with this one before I started. I didn't necessarily have an image to work from, but I just sort of let it grow as well. So sometimes just sort of diving in and letting things grow is great, you know, got nothing to lose, have you really? Anyway, I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you very soon, I'm sure. Lots of love. Take care. Bye.